Om Tare Du Tare Du Re Soha. Om Tare Du Tare Du Re Soha. Om Tare Du Tare Du Re Soha. Om Tare Du Tare.
All right. Well, I am excited that we have this opportunity to get into this topic. This is one I think, from my very limited experience, has impacted most people that I've known. So pop it up and we'll take a little look. Yeah, it's called Invigorating a Dry Dharma Practice. Oops, clicked on the wrong thing here. Yep. So this is about our journey where we often will find our ups and downs. We all start a practice. Sometimes gets to be very routine. Sometimes we don't even want to do it. Believe it or not, shocking that can happen. But this is going to take a look at some of those issues and some practical solutions. Some practitioners lament that they do not progress in their practice as rapidly as they would like. Many factors may be at play, having unrealistic expectations of quick attainments, being very self-critical, lacking sufficient study, so we do not know how to practice properly, or living far away from a teacher in a supportive Dharma community. The remedy for these hindrances is to approach the Dharma with a relaxed, cheerful attitude, rely on spiritual teachers, and study the teachings. So we're going to unpack that a bit, but just looking at the list they start with, which is unrealistic expectations of quick attainments. That for me, I think is one of the biggest obstacles. I think the actual biggest is the next one we'll talk about. But I do find that most human beings that I've had some time to practice with actually believe that if you start to sit down and practice regularly, you'll be able to meditate without any interruption. The mind will calm down. We'll sit in this blissful state. We'll be all clear, focused, and I'll be able to direct my attention where I please, whenever I want, as easily as I'd like. You might even see some really cool posters, online with some beautiful people with their hands together, cross-legged, beach in the background, very zenned out. They got it together. It's paradise. And so there's, I think, real big mythology around meditation that meditation is going to bliss you out. People can learn to meditate, and they're all peaceful and at ease, and a lot of unrealistic expectations about what it is to achieve a sense of balance just in our own lives, let alone our attention. A lot of people will sit down and meditate, and they'll do a session or two, and then they'll start talking about what they experienced. Maybe doing a week, and will be pretty shocked that their mind's still busy, that they can't meditate. They'll even say things like, I can't meditate. And so I think there's a lot of unrealistic notions and expectations around our practice. And even people who have been meditating for a bit of time. As a matter of fact, I was talking to someone recently who has a very solid practice, been doing it for quite a while, and was really looking at, he's still not capable of just keeping his awareness without distraction for the length of his meditation practice. He's been doing this for a while. But he also noted that in his life, he is so much happier, so much more capable of responding. He doesn't get hooked by thoughts like he used to. He doesn't get triggered like he used to. He's able to feel feelings. He's able to notice things come up in his body, make a healthy choice. So in other words, his whole life has changed because he's much more capable of being present, much more capable of making healthy choices. He's able to experiencing the feelings without being a prisoner of them. You know, everything about his life in that way has totally changed. And, you know, he really gets it. But a lot of people get to this point and they think, wow, you know, I've been doing this for, you know, a year or whatever. And I'm not, you know, able to just boom, sit, hold my attention, stay in that state without distraction. And might have an unrealistic expectation that if I do a 24-minute practice every day, you know, that's going to happen. 24-minute practice every day, like what we've been doing, just, you know, we just did 15-minute, did 24. The result is you're going to be much more mindful. You're going to be much more present. You're going to be able to experience feelings and not be hooked by them. You'll be able to make healthy choices. You're going to have more resiliency and so forth. But if you want to cultivate that attention, that capacity to move through the levels of shamatha, well, that's going to require more. It's going to require, you know, retreats and time away. It's going to require, you know, concerted effort, more time each day, and really going to take a little more training and time and energy and so forth. So just on the surface, when we think about unrealistic expectations, sometimes with our practice, we don't even notice that we're making huge progress. You know, thinking that our practice should be offering us something else. And so a lot of misunderstandings there. And so this is, I think, a pretty common one. The second one that comes up here is, I think, the biggest one, which is just being very self-critical. And this is where we micromanage our practice. This is where we beat ourselves up. This is where we are anything but a supportive friend to ourselves. You know, we miss a practice one day and then, see, you know, I can't do this stuff. And, you know, I'm struggling with, you know, my feelings. I'm a little reactive, you know, and we can be very, very critical about our progress. We can be critical about our practice. We can be critical about how we show up for our partners. And as we've talked about many times, you know, ultimately, I think this is the biggest issue. As a matter of fact, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, you know, it's when asked, you know, why so few Westerners really achieve enlightenment, you know, with these practices that have been passed down. And what he said basically was that, you know, we don't believe in ourselves. You know, we just don't. Not the way that, you know, the big difference between being raised in the Tibetan culture is like you come in the world thinking you have Buddha nature, that there's no problem with you, your essence. There's a problem with how you show up and a problem with all these afflictions. But that's not your core, you know, and we tend to come in the world with original sin, you know, and this constant way of needing to be a certain way for approval and you know, pulling ourselves up by the bootstrap per se. And it's a very different mindset. And so that comment really struck me and really thought about what's my belief in myself, you know, what's my limiting factors. And you know, I used to say things like, I'm not living up to my potential, you know. I mean, I'm sure none of you have ever thought that way, but I have. And I thought, wow, now they're at my potential. And and then it occurred to me, how do you live up to unlimited potential? That might be a futile exercise, an exercise in futility, living up to unlimited potential. But can I improve? And can I grow? And can I recognize some of these sort of key points of measurement that can identify growth? And so we have in the mind training these the measure of your practice and things that we can look at there. But fundamentally, though, how critical are we of ourselves in our practice? How much do we compare ourselves with others? How much do we, keep thinking we could be doing more, could be doing better? And how do we manage a self-supporting, nurturing voice that is encouraging and recognizing our growth and our practice, at the same time having a piece of accountability that'll push us a little bit? And that balance is really, really challenging. We'll tend to not push enough, or we'll push way too much, too critical, not push enough, see how lazy I am. And the supportive piece where just recognize where we're at today and recognize that right here, right now is my practice. When I catch myself being critical, I am now engaged in my practice. And now my practice is to let go of that voice. Now I'm fully engaged in Dharma practice. And so recognizing that even my practice doesn't look like me on a cushion with this length of meditation or this quality of meditation, my own sort of judgment, or whether I'm doing these practices and prayers, or whether I'm doing my studies properly, or attending the course. How am I treating my neighbor? How am I attending to the people in front of me? And how am I attending to me? That's practice. How am I attending to that critical voice? And how do I recognize that critical voice is nothing more than insecurity, fear, and affliction, and it's not me? It's literally letting me know what I get to work on a little bit. It's giving me some guidance. So this is really, I think, one of the main reasons people do not follow through often, because A, some unrealistic expectations, but B, just the critical voice is not supportive. We're not going to do much that we don't get some reward, some result, a sense of well-being. And practice in Dharma takes effort. It takes a real effort. And we'll put a lot of effort into things we really want. We'll put a lot of effort into that college degree. We'll put a lot of effort, into getting that job that career we want. We'll put a lot of effort into sometimes getting a vacation that we want. We'll put a lot of effort into these things. And, the effort of inner peace, well-being, presence of mind, it's funny that we'll stay up all night for, pass a test or to get this job done. But 25 minutes on a cushion, that's crazy talk for inner peace and well-being. What are you, nuts? And there an app for that. And then we'll, sit there and go, it is kind of ridiculous, seems easy. And then, my body and mind won't want to do it. And then now I'm beating myself up again. Instead of recognizing, look how conditioned I am. I'm struggling to do something I know is absolutely good for me and helps. And and that's quite normal. So what are some things I can do to counteract that? And maybe instead of doing, my ideal practice, I sit down for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I'm going to sit down 5 minutes. Now I'm practicing. I'm going to take a few breaths. Now I'm practicing. That really, I think, to counteract this idea of how I am not doing well or recognizing the value of my practice, is to really understand your practice is about being present and being compassionate and kind. Okay. And that is especially true with you as well as others. And taking a few breaths to ground, to get centered, to regulate. That's excellent Dharma practice. Didn't do my full session this morning. I'm going to go sit down for a few minutes. As a matter of fact, this morning I woke up late and I had this meeting. I didn't have my regular morning practice after all the sessions. There's a little river by the hotel. I got to go sit there for a little bit. Ground, do a little centering, focus, reset, remember this incredible life that I'm a part of. And now I'm fully immersed in Dharma practice. So understanding and reframing what Dharma practice means to us, I think is going to be a really rich way of bringing it back to life, instead of thinking it's this and this type of thing that I do, and if I'm not doing it just so, I'm failing. So balancing all that with this desire and this nurturing of these practices have got me to where I am today. Then, I'm going to have ebbs and flows with it. And it is valuable. It has changed my life. And I'm going to keep, doing my best each day to recognize its value, even if my mind and body don't want to do it today. But the self-critical voice is one of the most defeating things that we can come up against. And let's see what else they had here. I purposely did not study this. I wanted to see what just popped up as we read through it. And then lacking sufficient studies, so we do not know how to practice properly, or living far away from a teacher or support Dharma community. Yeah, the lacking sufficient study is pretty big issue. So many people that I get to have some time with have some pretty interesting ideas about Dharma. And the idea that, you pick up a book and you read it. And, a lot of people I know, I've been studying Dharma books for a long time, self-study. And so it's really easy to fall into some misunderstandings on very simple things. People, commonly with mindfulness will say things like, I'm not supposed to be judgmental. Okay. Does that mean you shouldn't judge whether this fruit is moldy or this fruit is good to eat? Do you judge whether you should wear a jacket outside based on the weather? Do you judge whether or not you're making a good business decision or a good life choice? Do you evaluate and judge what's a healthy attitude to bring to a situation versus an unhealthy one? Essentially mindfulness is about good judgment. And so if you're not supposed to be judgmental, does that mean you're not supposed to have good judgment or recognize poor judgment? And then we get all caught up in semantics. What they mean is, specifically in a mindfulness meditation practice, you don't judge your thoughts. You don't judge the experiences that you're feeling and your sensations, your body. You don't judge them. You just note them. No judgment. Doesn't matter. So in a mindfulness meditation, there's no judgment. negotiating a contract for a lease, you should probably have some judgment. Okay. Like some pretty good judgment, hopefully. And so people, will misunderstand very simple things like that often. And, wise discernment. So sometimes we just change the words to help, right? Instead, because in our vocabulary, being judgmental is kind of like judging a person's value, right? Whereas wise discernment is discerning, the qualities that I can depend upon this person or not. And then that takes kind of a little more clarity, right? Because I don't want to judge the value of a person, but I do want to be discerning as to whether or not I should loan them money or give them the keys to my car. I'd like to have some discernment there. And so if we use different words, maybe it helps clarify. So, there's lots of, one of our friends here, not here today, but we were sitting down and, we were talking about meditation, about practice. And he mentioned how, my meditation should be effortless. Wow. So it takes a lot of effort to become effortless. And it's like he got it. He goes like, oh, right. You need to put in the effort to get to a point to become effortless, but then he felt like he was doing it wrong if it was effortful, right? And, so just real simple things that we can easily, have some misperceptions or misunderstandings about. And that's where it's really important to, have some qualified teachers. And, these days, a lot of people pop up as teachers. And so really important to be very discerning about how we study, where we get our guidance. One of the things that, just to give a perspective about a qualified teacher, when we were at the Dharma Center in Long Beach, before I was a monk and a student, we had a dedicated study group. We met on Friday nights and we were going through Liberation of the Palm of Your Hand. We'd get a few pages a night, maybe, because we'd read it, we'd try to figure it out, we'd talk about it, and then we would write down questions. So if we had any questions, we could ask our teacher, Geshe Gelsen Lama there, my primary teacher, we could ask him. And so that was our kind of routine. And then one day we had this Geshe coming, who was there actually. And so a Geshe is a title. It's basically something, it's like a diploma, it's like a PhD in Buddhism. And so highly qualified teacher, the Rampa Geshe, highest level. And he sat in on our study group. And we read one paragraph. We spent an hour and a half, almost 2 hours on one paragraph. And he could expound upon one sentence there and talk about, well, in this perspective and in this context, this word would be, translated like this, and it would have this meaning. But in this context, it might mean this. And it just, boom, opened my eyes that, what a difference between having someone who could, take a paragraph and give a dissertation on it. And we're blindly going through a paragraph going, well, I think it kind of means this. Well, here's what I've been taught before. And we're like, blind people going through this stuff. And so, people who even, have read the Bible, there's commentary, right? And there's people, become, theologians and people that study, and they're going to give a context for it. When we have Buddha Dharma, this stuff has been not only passed down through centuries, but it's been translated from one language to another. And a lot of times the words don't match at all. There's no word in the English language that would capture the Tibetan for that, right? And so we get close, right? We find words that are close. We kind of describe it. And so it's really invaluable to have people who have been trained, have been given context, and have received some actual authenticity and recognition to teach. So I had some qualified teachers. Easy to get caught astray. And so I think a lot of people, out of misunderstanding, wind up kind of burning themselves out and doing, a lot of people still think they should empty their head when they meditate. And instead of recognize that, that mind's a busy place. There's things we can do to focus our attention elsewhere. And at some point with very structured practice, it may settle down. But trying to force your thoughts out, things of that nature, let alone how do we, engage in our lives more accurately, and how do we utilize certain practices that might be beneficial for us, and how do we acknowledge some that may not be so beneficial for us. Buddha Dharma is not a one-size-fits-all thing. And different people are going to have different capacities, and different people are going to find certain practices that are much more beneficial for them. But sometimes we're trying to, force ourselves to do certain things because that's the way it's been taught. And it may not be a good fit, or we may not even be doing the certain things. And so it's really nice to have some guidance, have some context to these teachings. Very important to study the kind of Dharma that's most suited for you, and meets you where you're at, and gives you permission to explore. So without these foundations, it's pretty easy to dabble, right? Dabble. And that's pretty common. When we're dabblers, we don't last very long. We dabble a little bit of this, we dabble a little bit of that. We find this little thing that resonates with me, and find this other thing that kind of resonates with me. And I look at this little spirit, and this resonates. But what I haven't found was a path. And that's the big difference. A path is going to get you somewhere. Digging a bunch of holes in the dirt doesn't get us very far. But one hole, keep digging that one hole, you're going to get somewhere. Constantly searching in our spiritual supermarket for things that resonate with us tend to just reinforce our own mind. And I'm not here to reinforce my mind. I'm here to develop my awareness and my wisdom. And so, what is it sometimes I need to look at? Doesn't seem very resonating or fun, but it's exactly what I need to know and to understand. And so, these baseline things, if we start with an understanding that this is a journey to explore and learn about myself and my experience. This is a journey that's going to take some time, because I have a lot of habits, a lot of tendencies, a lot of just embedded views and mind-body experiences, meaning my body will react in certain ways to certain things without my control. Just put some smell that you don't like around, see what happens. And some responses get triggered emotionally. And, there's these things that are just heavily conditioned. But there are some skills and some methods to start to really trace the actual causes of these emotions, thoughts, feelings, experiences, and the conditions that they interact with. And that the basic baseline theory is that as I learn to understand the true causes, the way they interact with my conditions and my habituation, I can learn to eliminate some of the causes that have created struggle, stress, worry, and fear in my life. And I can cultivate the causes that give rise to more serenity, resiliency, the ability to be more present, fully engaged, and freer in my life. And that this is a process that takes time. And there's different Buddhist practices from different lineages that offer certain practices that are more suitable for certain minds. Some people are more Zen. Some people are more Theravada. Some people, Tibetan. They have Chinese. They have these range of practices that were designed for these cultures and for the minds that they met. And now here we are in the United States of America, and what's suitable for someone in China or ancient Tibet might be very difficult for our minds to wrap around. And so what are the practices that are suitable to our strengths and our weaknesses? But how do we do that in a way that doesn't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? How do we extract the essence of these teachings without watering them down, offering less, offering its maximum potential, but in a much more practical way for us and how we view the world and how we experience ourselves in our environment. And, that's the big challenge, I think, of American culture experiencing Buddhism, is to extract the essence without throwing out, yeah. Anybody know what that baby with the bathwater thing, that phrase is? When I learned it, man, it was scary. In case you don't already know, back in the ancient times, not that ancient times, but even you had a family and take a bath. You'd fill up one bathtub. Father would get in first, then mom, kids, and they worked their way down to the youngest. And by the time the youngest in there, that tub water was pretty dark. And you go to empty it out. So that was the saying: don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You want to get rid of the dirty water, not the valuable kid. And yeah, so that should liven up your next bath experience. So essentially what's being shared here is that if we can start with a good foundation and some clear understanding and some good guidance, we're probably going to already eliminate a lot of the causes of the ups and downs of our practice. We'll still have them. I still have them. I get dry and forceful, and sometimes I'm alive with my practice and, the ebb and flow. But we can create a good foundation for stability in engaging in our practice in ways that are meaningful to us. So I've been talking for a little bit. Just want to check in, see if anyone had any thoughts or comments. If so, I can only see about 6 of you. So either just unmute and say something, or yeah. All right, Martha, I saw your hand. Actually, you're one of the 6. I get to see. That's good.
Hi, John. As usual, the topic is so timely for personally. And I was thinking about how I've been working on a daily meditation for about 8 months, 9 months now, since January. And it is a struggle sometimes. And so as I have tried to relax a bit into my practice, there's a couple things that I've done that seems to fit for me, and I wanted to share those. It's the morning practice that you guide us on, and that when you say the words about inviting the Buddha sitting right here in front of us, that was a bit of a stretch for me, because I didn't know what image of the Buddha to have sitting in front of me, because there's so many of these little figures of Buddha. So I have shifted that to considering the Buddha nature within me, and that's helped me. And the other thing is that after the words from the advice from Lama Tsongkhapa, that we hear each time, I so enjoy what your words are going to be as you reflect on those words that you've probably said, a half a million times or in your practice. And that I listen to those words, I say those words along with. And then as I'm going to listen to what you say, I have a little cup of coffee ready and I listen and I sip on my cup of coffee. And it's just it just fits for me. So that's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I'm always curious what I have to say too. Yeah. All right, Richard.
Yes, John, thank you for the teaching. I was curious, I guess recently I've been experiencing a quote unquote dryness in my practice. What are some practical antidotes or applications that we can use to cultivate some joyous effort to reinvigorate our practice?
Yeah, well, if you come to the retreat in August, but you're not going to make, October, you're not going to make it. So I'm not trying to give you the answer right now. Yeah, no, teasing. And the thing about joyous effort, there's the word effort. But if we recognize that the joy part always comes with reward, a sense of feeling good, and that without motivation, it's hard to do anything. And so, can we have a motivation that's not beating yourself through another practice session, but rather recognizing the efforts and its value, and really embracing that with some joy. And so, some of the things that I've been toying with, I've been talking about a little bit lately, that has helped me is not separating my Dharma practice from my what we might call mundane activities. So this cultivation of contentment and joy with the things that I'm doing here in this moment, whether that is eating popcorn with your partner, or listening to some music, to recognize and have some wonder and awe, to stop throughout the day and recognize the value of the life you have in this moment. And as we stop, I've mentioned that Father David Stendhal Ratz, his skillfulness around cultivating gratitude throughout the day, is where you stop, you look, and then you act. And the stop is to pause throughout that day. Just pause and then look. And what we're looking for is, what's the opportunity of this moment? And what's the opportunity of this moment? And when I do that, generally, I'm not looking necessarily for the opportunity to do. Sometimes I get to look at wonder of the moment I'm in. I was just in a hotel earlier today, and I was on this board of that is providing funding for different programs through the state of Colorado to create safer communities and provide for mental health services and so forth. Now, that can be a very dry thing, or it can be like, wow, here I am sitting here in this hotel that people have serving us food and taking care of us, and these people that have come together on this board to volunteer their time and services, be part of government to help these grants get out. And what I find is that when I stop and look for that opportunity of gratitude, the opportunity to recognize just how fortunate I am in this moment, and then the opportunity is, well, what do I do with this? What do I do now? And then I act, right? And so that's his idea: stop, pause, look for the opportunity, and act on it. And so when you start seeing that as your daily practice, now your practice becomes very rewarding. And then it encourages my my return to my more structured practices. So I get to have the experience of some joy, some wonder, and that could be as simple as being aware of walking, on the ground with your feet headed towards, the bathroom, or the fact that you can urinate today. There's a lot to be grateful for about that, by the way. Pretty unpleasant when you can't. And so for me, what I've been finding is connecting more with my daily experience, and then suddenly it's not a mundane experience, it's my spiritual practice, my understanding of interdependence, my understanding of the value of what I get to do right here, right now. And that recognition gives rise to an opportunity to continue to do some of the things that got me here. And so I think of joyous effort in that way now throughout the day, and to really bring a sense of wonder and awe to the moments when I stop, because that's what I am now paying attention to. That work for you, Richard?
Very helpful. So in essence, it's connecting our practice on the pillow with our daily life and our relationship with the moment and appreciation, and and having that inspire our practice, and how we are evolving with our relationship with the moment, basically, right?
Yeah, but simplify that. Don't even think about connecting it to your practice on the cushion. Just think about this moment.
So our
And
life,
yeah,
go ahead. So our life becomes our practice.
Yeah, and like right here, right now, in this moment, we're here, all of us on a Wednesday night coming together, supporting each other and learning how to live in ways that are meaningful and productive, and drawing wisdom from ancient traditions and teacher to student over centuries that has been practiced, refined, offered to us, and now translated in English, where we have a chance to access the essential pieces of understanding our Buddha nature, our experience in the world, cut through suffering, and live more skillfully, right? This is a pretty wondrous moment right now.
Right. I'm driving in my vehicle, which is why I can't come on the screen. But being I'm not in traffic, I am traffic, and just navigating in this moment, and translating the Dharma to this moment in my current situation.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was driving over to pick up Laura earlier. And, I was thinking about the cars, and I was thinking, really my practice, be present in this car, being attentive. Just turn left. I saw these other cars, and I was thinking, wow, does it really make a difference if I'm wishing all these people well and safe? I was kind of thinking about that. And then I realized those cars are making me think about compassion. Those cars are becoming the condition for me to offer compassion.
Right.
It's like, whoa,
So metta driving meditation.
Yeah. Everyone around you is helping you bring virtue to your heart and mind to be a benefit to others. It was quite a little moment.
Well, thank you, John. That's very helpful.
Yeah. And then try not to cut them off right after
that. And not shame myself.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. There we go. And then take joy that you didn't shame yourself. Pat on the back, nailing it.
Right. Thanks, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, Ashley, you've been pretty patient up there.
Hi, John. Yeah, my problem seems to be, a lot of times that self-critical voice that, really what you're saying really resonated, because I keep thinking, oh man, I'm getting angry again, and then, and those habitual patterns. Oh, oh, why did I do that? But then something you said that was really helpful was to catch myself when I'm doing something good. I tend to ignore those. Like, oh
Mhm.
wait, I didn't get angry this time. Wait, I handled this a little bit better than I would have a year ago. That kind of thing, and kind of noticing the progress a little bit kind of gives me an incentive to keep going, even though the progress is small.
Progress is big.
Sometimes it feels small, and there's the
Feels small.
self-criticism again.
Yeah, feels small, but it's actually, I mean, look at where you are today to a year ago or to 2 years ago, right? Yeah. And here's another good thing to celebrate. Like you noticed when you didn't get angry, but something to celebrate is to notice when you did get angry. Like I am aware that I got angry. I'm aware of this.
Right.
And
Okay.
that's huge.
Yeah, I have been noticing more. Oh, wait. Oh, man, here I go again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
triggered again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat on the back. Hey, boy, I'm feeling triggered and I know it, you know.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I
So often,
definitely would
go ahead.
not have noticed that 2 years ago or a year ago. Would have just kind of gotten moved along with it. And so at least that's something.
Yeah. Right. Well, there's a difference between being triggered and noticing you're being triggered. In one way, you're immersed in the response with no choice. The other one is you're aware that this is happening and you're able to have some experience of it that you can grow and learn from in real time.
Yeah, it's been really helpful too, the way you talk about it as being an opportunity. Like, okay, here's an opportunity to be patient. Here's an opportunity to become more aware and learn more about myself. So that's been really helpful.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah. Last little thing I'll say with that, which sometimes helps a lot of people. We get frustrated with ourselves or critical of ourselves when, we react in a certain way or we get angry or whatever we do and our tone happens. Yeah, but as you were pointing out, that's an opportunity to learn something about ourselves and our experience. And rather than beat ourselves up, maybe we can be like a doctor, a physician. When you get your knee damaged, you don't get upset at your knee, right? It's just damage. But the pain signal says, okay, I need to attend to this. And now I need to care for this. And so, but if I don't get the pain showing up, I don't know that my knee's in bad shape. Likewise, these afflicted states popping up are really just messengers, pointing out what we get to learn and understand about ourselves and take care of. Yeah. All right, Greta.
Hey, thank you so much. Oh man, this has just been so great. The whole talk. Yeah, and that self-forgiveness piece. I guess I just wanted to share a little something, like sitting and doing this practice in the morning and like trying to find out where this anger and these emotions are at in the body has been really helpful too. And I was working today in Connecticut and I was wrapping up the last place where I was working, and I felt this like tension starting to grow in my body, which usually comes before the anger sometimes. And I don't know, there's like this thing where it'll be like, I'll be like, I don't have time for this, like I just need to wrap this up and then I'll address it. And today it was a little bit different. It was like, okay, no, we have time right now. Let's just stop and address it right here in the store next to the rack, and just like kind of put my hand on my solar plex and my hand on my chest and just kind of ask, like, okay, what's going on? Because sometimes it's just not super obvious what the emotion is, but it's in the body, or like something like that. So I don't know really where I'm going with this, but I think it helps to notice that contraction or something before it turns into a full-blown episode. And I also really love that you talked about, I don't often hear it in Dharma talks, but that like sometimes it's like a knee-jerk reflex, like it just pops off right away. And to also just like, if you can't stop it, like that's okay too, that you're allowed to just be messy. So I really appreciated that. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Greta. Good to hear from you. Yeah, doing good stuff. All right, we're at 10 after, so I'm not going to get to the next paragraph. The next one's going to tell you how lazy you are, but I thought that might sound a little critical. It actually gets into the 3 forms of laziness that we attend to, and one of them is quite fascinating. It's the busyness of laziness, which is a real interesting kind of laziness we get into, which is we're busy doing everything except this, and what's that old saying? Rearranging the sock drawer, because I really don't want to do that, I think. So, but yeah, we'll get into some of those things, but in a nurturing way. And yeah, it's much more about understanding some of our habit patterns that sometimes undermine, our practice a little bit. But these key points that they're really illustrating, this idea of recognizing that underneath this messiness, you're already okay, right? And nothing's broken. You're good. Your Buddha nature's there, your ultimate nature's there. That it's obscured with a lot of habits, conditionings, misunderstandings, entanglements that have limited us and literally imprisoning us. And it's really just a matter of undoing those habits, really starting to counteract unhealthy emotional states with some more healthier attitudes. And, one of those is just this idea of self-compassion we've been talking about. Can I counteract a critical voice with a compassionate one? And can I develop each day a practice of stability, this meditation practice, and recognize that this primary shamatha practice is a practice to cultivate attention and mindfulness. With more attention and mindfulness, we might be attentive to little sensations in our body, as was just indicated, or about to be triggered. You might even have a thought that maybe you shouldn't say what you're about to. It could happen, before we say it. And then if we say it, maybe we can recognize, woo, I would like to learn from that, because, and hopefully you still have a job. We'll see. But, these are understanding that all of that is simply the messiness of life and our habits, and that today we're involved in a process of undoing those things that have created harm and lack of self-worth in our lives, and cultivating a sense of value, appreciation, and an understanding of interdependence instead of independence. And having this good foundation to learn to pat ourselves on the back instead of pick up a stick when you do that. Very subtle difference. Beating yourself with a bat, just put the bat down, pat yourself, all right? Just don't pick up the bat. Maybe give yourself a little neck massage. And recognize we're all learning. We're all trying to find our way. And what a wonderful opportunity we have each time we gather together to support each other. What a wondrous thing. And let's notice the wonder around you. Let's pause during the day. Let's take a moment, stop, look for the opportunity, and then act accordingly as best we can. It's a really great habit. Father David Stindl Rast, R-A-S-T. All right, well, anybody else got anything else before we wrap up? Then beyond that, I'd like to invite everyone that would care to join in our dedication prayer. The idea is that when we gather together, it's a really virtuous thing, coming together, supporting each other. Really has an opportunity to cultivate these potentials within ourselves, with others. And this virtue can be cultivated and shared with others. And at the end of a teaching, we have the chance to dedicate the merit, the wisdom, our time together for the benefit of other beings, that they may be free of suffering, and for our own continued spiritual growth, that we may ultimately recognize our own Buddha nature and be of great benefit to all. So those who'd care to, if you take a moment to set that intention, and I'll recite the dedication prayer. Dedication. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their sufferings. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om